Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I will be sharing 2 easy weeknight meals that are easy to make and absolutely delicious. The first recipe is for Salisbury steak, and to begin with you're going to start out with some ground beef, 1 egg, and I went ahead and mixed that in a separate bowl. Then you're going to add in some parsley, breadcrumbs, some Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of salt and pepper, and a little bit of crushed red pepper flake to taste. Then you're going to add in some chopped onion. You're going to see in a moment when I add in that onion. After I made this recipe, I wish I would have diced it a little bit smaller. It still turned out amazing, but I would recommend doing it a little bit smaller. Then you're going to combine all of the ingredients well together. I actually cut my finger on my other hand right before I did this, which is why I'm just using one hand to mix all of that together. It would have been a lot easier with 2, but you got to do what you got to do. And then once you have that mixed thoroughly, you're just going to form that into patties. Now I will have the recipe linked in the description box below. I did half the recipe because the original recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground beef and I just wanted to do 1. So I was able to get 4 of these oval shaped patties. I also could have positioned them in my pan a little bit better to fit all 4 of them, but when I was placing them in, I didn't, so I did cook 1 separately. You're just going to brown them on both sides. You're not looking to cook them on the inside. They will cook in the sauce later. And so once you have them browned, you're going to remove them from the pan, and then you're going to add in some additional chopped onion and let that saute down until it is soft. You're not looking to really caramelize the onions here. You just want them to soften. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about Salisbury steak, I think about that Salisbury steak that you get in the freezer section in like a long rectangular pan that you pop in the oven or the microwave. And while that can be good on a busy weeknight, this is completely different and absolutely delicious. So if you're a little afraid when I say Salisbury steak, please try this recipe. It's definitely worth it. Once the onions have softened, I'm going to add in some thinly sliced mushrooms, and I'm just going to let those saute down. Now you can see here I did add in a little bit of butter because I could tell that the mushrooms and the onions were soaking a lot of the liquid up, like the oil that was in the pan. So I added a little bit more. So just keep an eye out. If you feel like it's a little bit dry, you're going to add in a little bit of butter, or you can do a little bit more oil. Once the mushrooms have sauteed down, you're going to add in garlic and cook that down for a minute until it becomes fragrant. And then we're going to add in a little bit of flour and let that cook for a minute or 2. And you're just going to be using the flour to help thicken the sauce. To that, we're then going to add in our beef broth, give that a good stir, and then let that start to come up to a simmer a little bit. And then we're going to add in the hamburger patties. I also added a little bit of Worcestershire sauce into the broth. That's just going to help deepen the flavor of it. And then we're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes until the hamburger patties have cooked through. And when they're simmering, you're going to cover it. It's going to help that sauce thicken up. Now, if the sauce isn't thickened enough when your hamburger patties are done, you can always remove them and then just let that continue to cook for a couple of minutes until it's thickened. And then I just serve this over some mashed potatoes, and it's the perfect, easy weeknight comfort food meal. The next recipe is for chicken Parmesan with this garlic bread. And look at this garlic bread. I cannot say enough how much you have to try this. It is an Ina Garten recipe. You're going to start out by melting down 1.5 sticks of butter in a small saucepan, and then you're going to peel an entire head of garlic and then put that into the butter. You're going to let that cook covered over low heat for 20 minutes. You aren't looking to have the garlic get caramelized and brown. You're just looking to soften it. Once the garlic has cooked, you're going to let it cool slightly. I actually made mine earlier in the day and let it cool completely, which is totally fine. And then you're going to put that into a separate bowl, mash the garlic into the butter that you cooked it in, and then you're going to add in some parsley, Parmesan cheese. I just use the grated kind out of the shaky jar, some black pepper, and then some crushed red pepper flakes. Now the recipe also calls for lemon zest, which I did not have, so I left it out, and it was still absolutely amazing. I will say the next time I make this, I'm going to double this and keep some in the refrigerator because my husband and I were both obsessed with this recipe. You absolutely have to try it. So then you're just going to spread it evenly onto some bread. You can use a French baguette. Right here I'm using an Italian loaf that I cut in half and then cut in half lengthwise. And you want to put this on a foil lined sheet just in case any of it were to go over the sides of the bread. It just makes for easier cleanup. And then we're going to go ahead and bake this in the oven at 450 degrees, and it's only going to cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. And here is the bread when it comes out of the oven. Absolutely perfect. So for the chicken Parmesan, I tried a new recipe this time. I like chicken Parmesan, but I find that it tends to be a little bit soggy because there's a lot of sauce, and this one does not do that. So to start out with, I'm just going to combine some panko breadcrumbs with some Parmesan cheese, and then I'm going to get my chicken breast prepped. So for the chicken breast, I just bought thinly sliced chicken breast. If you're buying regular chicken breast, you're just going to want to cut it in half horizontally, so that way they're thinner pieces. And then I went ahead and seasoned it with some salt and pepper, and then I set up my dredging line there that you can see. So I have just plain flour in one, and then some eggs that were beaten in the second one, and then our panko mixture. And you're just going to go down the line, starting with the flour, dipping it into the egg, and then into the panko mixture. Then you're going to heat up some oil into a pan, and you're going to let these brown on both sides about 3 to 4 minutes each side. And then we're going to remove them and put them on a foil lined baking sheet, so that way we can add the rest of the toppings, and then it's going to finish cooking in the oven. So at this point you're looking just to get that nice brown color. You're not looking to cook the chicken completely. Once you have it on the sheet, you're just going to top it with a little bit of marinara sauce. You can use as much as you like here, but like I said earlier, I like that this recipe called for just a little bit on the top of each one. That way it does not get soggy when you're cooking it. Then you're going to top it with cheese. I just bought some pre-shredded Italian blend cheese. The recipe, which will be linked in the description box, calls for several different kinds of cheeses that were all included in this bag. So just to make it easier on myself and a little bit more cost effective, I just bought it in the bag where it's all together, the Italian blend. This also will bake in a 450 degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the thickness of your chicken. And here you can see when it comes out of the oven, absolutely perfect. I just served it over some bow tie pasta that I tossed with some more marinara sauce. I really hope that you enjoyed both of these recipes. Please let me know in the comments down below if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you go.